Today's chat is brought to you by, well, all of your support. Through the patronage you provide the Focus Fire chat team through Podbean's crowdfunding, we are able to provide you with the weekly podcast as well as the game streams, website, and other aspects of Focus Fire chat. If you have any interest in becoming a patron of the FFC, please be sure to visit our website and click on the support link. Even a single dollar helps, and for those of you who are already patrons, thank you again for your generosity. You may have heard the whispers of guardians gathering in the shadows, exploring the mysteries of this world and the worlds which surround us. We are all in search of truth. Sometimes we need to focus that search, focus that fire. And so we come together. Join us. Join the discussion. Welcome to Focused Fire Chat. Welcome back for episode 129 of Focus Fire Chat, recorded live on April 27th over on twitch.tv/Focus Fire Chat. As always, want to give a big shout out to our live chat here with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Our topic for tonight's episode is going to be a look at the vendor Failsafe. But first, let's run through a quick introduction of those who are on the show for you guys tonight. As always, this is your host, Blue Crew 86. We also have with us the man who has been said has the voice of a flower, an individual who goes by many different names, Justin Sane 0516. Justin, what guys do you have on for us tonight?
Yes, that's the guys of the amicable Dale Safe. Dale Safe. That's I don't know. I don't know anymore. I don't know who I am anymore.
Do you just make left-hand turns? Is that all that you?
Yeah, that's all I do.
Oh my. NASCAR reference.
NASCAR reference.
I was just in case. Say, can we go back to friggin' Disney jokes? 'Cause
yeah. He, to be fair, Beard, he was a little loose in that turn, but yeah, we'll little wedge adjustment, getting him right up there.
I think. All right, that's it. I think this podcast already needs to take a pit stop. I think I'm done with this.
I've missed you guys.
So next up, we have our own master of social media, the one and only Green-Eyed Music Lover. Green, hope you're doing well. How's the week treated you so far?
It's good. It ended a little rough. I had a bout of sickness towards the end of the week, but I'm feeling pretty good now. That bout of sickness allowed me to dive into Ishtar Collective like I have not done in a long time, so I'm not really complaining about being able to stay home.
Well, it helps the recent update that got put out there, right?
Yeah.
It's a big shout out to Ishtar for that update. And the update that we're talking about is actually a list of updates on Ishtar, so you can now kind of see historically what has been updated when, which is amazing and super useful. Yes. But rounding out the usual team, we do have our grizzly bearded cultivator of Spinfoil himself, Beard Grizzly. Beard, how are you doing tonight?
Not too bad, except for trying to multitask way too much, like always. Except this time it's worse because Bungie just had their reveal stream. So of course, every week.
What? Oh, they did? When did that happen?
I was going to say, I'm like trying to figure out what update you're talking about. And I'm like, oh, they meant the Bungie one. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, Ishtar did something too. I'm like, oh, great. Something else that I lost within my Twitter feed, comment section, and Discord. Lovely. This is great.
Beard, I'm trying to help you.
No.
I get it. I understand. Direct links are a wonderful thing. But otherwise, I'm doing fantastic. Because I cannot believe the... Not necessarily, I don't want to say hype, but the excitement that is right now kind of permeating into the community. Right. Things have just felt better about those that are still interested with the game, and it is definitely noticeable with the hard work and attention that they've kind of put into the reveal stream and otherwise. It's definitely... I am constantly waking up either from like the couple like the naps that I'm taking or from sleep, and my Twitter is like 20 plus notifications each and every time. My Discord is just full of like, oh my god, did you see this? Oh my god, did you see that? And it's just like, oh my god, guys, I am one person trying to like stack all this in my head, but the excitement is just it's wonderful to see for a change.
And I think the other thing too is like it's genuine. I think is the kind of for me is refreshing is it's not like, and I don't mean to downplay, like I agree with you, Beard, on the hype thing, because I've never really liked the word hype. Like I get it, I don't really say anything about it, but it's like it always kind of feels like forced. But this one kind of seems like it. Plus the feedback that we've heard from the summit, which you know we'll probably talk a little bit about that, but maybe but you know, like I think the genuine happiness is kind of on the uprise, which for me is really nice.
If nothing else, it's having people kind of like what I said with a recent video here, just take a step back, have some personal introspective, think about what it is with what you're consuming, either in news or otherwise, and think about what it is that you want to either do, play, or look into. That is entirely on you.
Wait, you mean play a video game for fun?
Yeah, I know who does that anymore.
Sorry.
I mean, we even had
and I think no, go ahead, Green.
We even had somebody mention that they took a step back for a little while, but the reveal stream and just seeing everybody excited on Twitter and seeing everybody make new videos, like there's been so many Destiny videos dropped in the last week, and it really had slowed down quite a bit. But
most of them by Beard.
Well, Beard posted quite a few. I think Bive got one out. Mylan got one out.
Yeah, those are the only two other ones. Most of them, just check out Beards. They're the only ones.
Beard works hard for his money.
So hard for his money. No, I think you guys are glossing over the most important thing that came out of this whole deal, and it's not like the uplifting essence and the spirit of the community and all that. It's the unveiling of Anna Bay.
She is adorably
attractive. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, that's
did you guys
Asian.
Yeah, did you see the one of the I think it was the girl who actually was the concept artist for her, but she was she tweeted out, and I kind of retweeted it because I was like, this is really cool. But she was saying like she was really happy that they went with the direction that they went with because of the whole I mean, it's kind of tapping into the minority thing. Like having a major character that is, you know, again, kind of, and Bungie's always kind of done that with like, you know, the much more prevalent, strong female characters, and all that. But like, it's just, to me, that was really cool that, you know, the person who kind of helped concept her was actually, it's kind of modeled after her as well.
I actually have the tweet right here. I'll read it off here in a second, but it's kind of cool. But yeah, her name is Lisa Wiley. For me, it was a big deal to get to help work on Warmind and Anna Bray, who is not only female, but Asian and looks like me, because representation matters. Hashtag. She means a lot to me. Hashtag Destiny 2.
I really like that. And like, I don't know. I really like how Bungie... That's another thing that really kind of helps me stick with Bungie through the little rough patches, is that they do kind of turn around every now and then and they do something like that. And it's like, you know, it's not something that's in your face or, you know, aggressive or anything by any means, but for those who are involved with the design, involved with that process, it does mean a lot to those who are working hard to make the game. So,
right.
But speaking of renewed interest in the game, I guess this week, Green asked a question that,
oh my God.
that kind of blew up. So we asked the community, what story aspect of the Warmind DLC are you most looking forward to? And I mean, admittedly, this was fresh on the tail on the you know, heels of the reveal stream. So I think we were all expecting a little bit more interest in the answer, but Well, I'm going to turn it over to Green because, I mean, I think it kind of took its life of its own.
I mean, Beard was talking about getting notifications like 20 plus every like 30, 40 minutes. The first 2 days that this dropped, oh my, yeah, it's insane. We had 719 votes, and I had anywhere from, direct threads from it, I had 15, which blew up beyond that because they turned into conversations, and it's like, oh my God, guys. I'm at work and I'm just having Twitter ping left and right. I had to shut my phone off for a little while just because I was driving my coworkers crazy with all the Twitter pinging that was happening. But 719 votes, and I'm actually pretty pleased with the results because I'm a little biased. But 42% of the votes went to they're excited for the Clovis Anna Bray story.
Mm-hmm.
36%.
That was one of those.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. I am so excited to learn about Clovis Bray and Anna Bray and a little bit more about Bray Tech. 42% went to. Oh wait, no, I already did that one. 36% went to Rasputin's story. 13% went to the Hive story. 10% went to the Darkness story, which I kind of threw Darkness on there as just kind of a continual type thing. There's nothing that I saw that really said that the Darkness story was going to continue in any way. But I was a little surprised that people were excited about seeing Zol show up and Nokris, but
it's the prospect of actually seeing Zol at some point would be really nice.
Right.
Wait, but we actually get to see some?
Maybe.
Well, I don't know, but I'm just saying.
But
spoilers, it's actually just a little worm you put in a cage.
It's one of those. No,
he's in a giant bottle of tequila.
No, it's one of those. It's one of those peanut jars that you open up and.
Just for Justin,
I would have to put the controller down and just say bravo, Bungie.
Talk about
bravo. This game is a tour de force.
Yeah, we had some interesting
tour de troll,
responses.
maybe.
Yeah, all the trolls for Justin. We had some interesting conversations that came out of it that I really liked. Both people that were excited for it, but also kind of upset about stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. Wait, people are upset on the internet?
Oh, God. Well, I mean...
Boy, I don't know anything about that.
If you were stuck in a computer, you'd be upset, too.
That is a very true statement, Justin. Those are the wisest words I've heard you say in a long time.
That's amazing.
Have you ever watched this? Have you ever watched this movie series? It happens to be called Tron because yeah, that's pretty much right.
He was pretty angry.
Have you ever seen Master Control? Like he seems pretty upset at the fact that he's like, stuck in there.
Beard went the Tron route. I'm sitting here thinking Space Odyssey 2021.
Yeah,
the files are in the computer.
I'm just thinking Johnny Mnemonic, but that's me. So y'all.
All right. Well, we've come to the consensus of is that there is far too many options for this to be looked at. Yes. I think we just need to have another reference to the Darkness card going on here. The Justin position.
The Justin position.
Instead of Pujari. It's the position.
The Justin position.
Of course, now that sounds like something that's X-rated. So
no. Yeah, I was going to say all of it. Never mind. Look, you brought it up.
I did, and I'm fine with it. So, some of the people that were talking about their excitement... I'm going to gloss right back over that and come back to this.
I'm not giggling about it. What are you talking about?
After replaying Arecibo mission, I was hoping Warmind would be in part a fight between Charlemagne and Rasputin. I feel as if the story writers forgot that in Arecibo, Ghost says the AI that is interfacing with him, that he didn't feel it was Rasputin, and that he didn't like the new guy. A lot of people wanted to see Charlemagne. That's probably one of the biggest things that I've seen as far as disappointment.
Well,
but we still haven't had the release happen.
I was about to say, I was like, I think that's also a combination because I'm kind of in that camp as well, but I'm also holding I'm holding back because exactly what you just said. We haven't seen it. Like all we know is like what the minute and a half of the video that we had with Anna Bray in it. And, you know, I mean, the stream, sure, but the stream, honestly, I messaged, I think I was messaging Beard. I was like, the stream honestly felt to me like it was more of like, look at all the PvP stuff we're going to do. And it's like, I really don't care.
Well, I mean,
it was meant to be a little bit more of like a teaser because the more that is being received over either, at least from like what I've seen for like Twitter and whatnot, the vast majority that have been getting back to like DMG or Cosmo have all basically said, "Hey, don't show us everything."
Yes.
And that's
I
totally agree.
Been like, and I figured that's kind of like where they were going with it. We actually got more story drops out of that reveal than I thought we were going to.
That's fair.
But it was still like really. It was still like, at least to me, a very except for their energy, because I could tell that those guys with the save of like Gibson were like tired as hell.
Oh yeah, well yeah. I mean they're in the 11th hour. The other thing, actually, going back to the Arecibo thing, did any of you catch the Easter egg that was in the streamer?
The music box?
The music box? Yeah. So I don't think...
twice.
Yeah. I mean, and that kind of also is where I'm kind of coming at it with a little bit of a cool down on the, we're not going to see anything. It's because I'm just waiting to see what we actually get. It doesn't make it sense to get mad about something that you don't have.
That should actually be a message that kind of gets carried into the rest of the community per right now, because I'm already seeing a corner that is already saying, "Oh, they're retconning this, that, the other thing." You don't know that for a fact. You don't have it in front of you yet. You don't necessarily have all of the facts that are behind it yet. So please, for the love of God, just because it is not in front of you and you cannot prove it, it does not mean it was retconned yet.
Right. And I mean, Beard, you know, to be fair, though, it's Bungie. So even when we do have it right in front of us, we can't tell them that it's actually for a fact.
No.
which is what I love about it. Like, I love that aspect of it.
The other thing is, are you referring to the Anna Bray second death contingency that's out there? Or which side are you talking about? Because the Deej specifically said, he brought up the fact that we're going to find out how Anna Bray survived.
Yeah, and that is actually something that I'm like really anxious to find out, because we have a couple people, like we have Shax and we have Lakshmi. That we've got Lakshmi more than anything that really alludes to the fact that like she was like very highly considered as dead. And meanwhile, we have Shax on the other hand, who keeps talking about like the stories of. And the only one that it felt like he was wrong about was Aphrodite, but even we knew that was a little bit misplaced. Versus like all the others that he's talked about in terms of like past stories were either Iron Lords he's worked with or other Guardians that he's fought alongside with that are no longer with us. Yeah. You know, those are the only stories that he tends to tell, and he's usually really good about that stuff. It's not like Shax is a brute; he's extremely intelligent, so he's usually very on point with the stories that he tells. So yes, the Anna Bray part I'm incredibly curious on, which is like how she survived. But it's not even that. It's the story of the Hive and how they're like stuffed under the ice and how apparently that doesn't have an explanation. And I'm sitting here going,
I know which one
do you want to see the 3 pages of outline that I have? That I have pulled from the lore and the science that some people are relying on that absolutely disfigures that thought, because it exists. And Bungie has it written into the old stuff. And further to my point, stop saying that the Grimoire is dead, because pulling from those cards is where you're actually getting all this information from.
Oh yeah, I mean, I pulled from Ghost Fragment Titan today just to say there's a precedent for us to be on Mars, where Rasputin to be on Mars as a Warmind.
Yeah.
We have it in the old Grimoire.
We have a Warmind at the very least. We never really knew like who it was, what was going on with it, until we ended up hitting that last array mission, and then all holds were off. Like, that opens up the gateway to something completely different. So I am definitely I know I feel like I'm on a soapbox here right now, but as per the community, I'm finally able to put it into words. There's a subsect of the community that is throwing out information and saying that if it doesn't exist, that means it's not there. No, it means it's a piece of the mystery that isn't there yet. And like we saw with Curse of Osiris, there were things that needed to be placed into it. And we got those with stuff like Crimson Days and the other releases that happened during COO. Take your time, take a step back, and stop thinking that it is all right in front of your face, because we haven't had that for the last 4 years of this game when it comes to this lore. Thank you. Good night.
The other, yes, preach, Brother Beard.
Brother Beard.
That's worse.
That's worse.
Brother Beard. Yeah.
Green, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I know we're going to get into this a lot more next week, because I think that's what we're planning on doing as a pre-release episode.
Basically,
is that the plan?
Blue effed up the schedule, and I'm still trying to figure out. And then life is really busy. Yes. I'm gonna use that as the defense for me.
Did you say your wife is really busy?
No, life. Tax season's over. We're good. We're in the clear right now.
For a while.
For a while.
Yeah. Next week we're gonna do kind of a pre DLC lore breakdown of what we know so far, and kind of remind people of information that we had before. Is that a fair?
Yeah, statement? I think so. And you'll hear this in the intro recording, but so technically next week I was originally planning on doing a recap of the extra lore for God of War. So if we want to continue, we'll have a conversation offline, obviously, about what we're going to do, because I see arguments for both sides of this thing. But which actually, I guess that kind of brings me to my segue into that intro is, what do we want to do for next week's question? Do we want to do another Warmind thing? Do we want to ask about the God of War recap? Like what? Because I mean, again, I can see both sides of this particular situation that I inadvertently created.
Should we? I mean, if we're going to ask about the DLC, because people are still excited about it, should we ask about? Because if we're going to do God of War the week after, we can ask the God of War question that week.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're going to do the DLC, I can do a question of what types of stories should we go over, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, because there's a lot of background information that we need to.
So I think unless I get crucified on Twitter this next week for saying this, I think we probably will put God of War to the side and do a Warmind prep next week. Does that sound fair to everyone?
I think that's fair, honestly.
Okay, so if anyone wants to yell at me about putting God of War, because I agree, it is an amazing game, and it technically does need to have its recap. If you guys really want to recap, let me know either in Discord or Twitter. But if I don't get chased off the soapbox, as Beard calls it, I think we'll do the Warmind thing. So in this next intro recording, fair warning, just ignore that bit. But okay, so that being said, Green, what would we say? Nerd and Needle showed up. Speaking of which, actually, you know what? Speaking of which, I'm going to throw my question to Green aside for just a second. Big shout out to Nerd and Needle. And if you don't know why, hopefully here soon you will. She is helping, she is doing everything. I was just the one that kind of bugged her about it, and she was gracious enough to let me bug her about it. But she is going to be putting together some patches, and I'm getting those, and I'm going to be showing those off. And if anyone has any interest in that, please let me know. And if I can, we'll try to see what we can do as far as getting those out to people. But they look amazing. Watching and truly watching her Twitch stream. Her channel is twitch.tv/nerd and needle. It's NERDANDNEEDLE. Seriously, go watch it. It's like I was telling Green before show. It's like the most hypnotic thing to watch, and for a person like me who's slightly OCD, it is one of the most relaxing things to watch because that machine that she has, I think it's an Enterprise, I think is what it was. Oh my, it's amazing. I could watch that all day. But yeah, seriously, big shout out to her for an amazing work on that.
She's doing the patch for the logo for our show and also for the
Lore Network,
together, right?
Yeah, and the Lore Network. So the Lore Network, we're doing that. Oh, right there. She said it's a 10 needle embroidery machine Enterprise. So yeah, she's doing the Lore Network logo, the Focus Fire Chat logo, and then our little tagline, Explore Together. And I will be probably, as soon as I get those, I will definitely be showing those off. But to come back, Green, so if we do a Warmind prep show next week, what do you want to ask?
I think I'm going to make it an slightly open-ended question. And, well, okay. I should have thought of this before coming to the show, since it's one of the things that I end up doing. But what card should we go over, or what stories do we need to go over to refresh people on? What refresher do you want, kind of thing in the episode? I'll clean up the question.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
it'll be something along those lines if you're listening and trying to find that question later on.
Perfect. And we'll, as always, we always put those up on Twitter and in the Discord as well. Okay, so I know
all of my friends to retweet it.
I know everyone here is looking forward to diving into the discussion about Failsafe. So let's run through our standard intro notes real quick, and then we'll get right into it. In the last episode of Focus Fire Chat, we discussed Benedict 9940. If you ever miss an episode and would like to catch up, please be sure to check out FocusFireChat.com for archives, articles, and links to the other aspects of Focus Fire Chat. If you don't mind, please rate and, if you can, review the show on iTunes, Podbean, or whichever podcasting app you use to enjoy podcasts. Reviews in particular are extremely helpful as they help us show up on charts, and that helps others find the FFC community. To those of you who have already taken the time to leave us a review, thank you. As many of you already know, Focus Fire Chat is a cross-community gathering where the intent is to offer a week-long, in-depth view of a particular subject from within the lore of Destiny and other games. This chat begins every Tuesday morning and runs until the following Tuesday, with topics decided by the group via a poll that begins every Friday and ends on the Tuesday morning of the new chat. Every Friday, at around 10 p.m. Central, we get together to stream a high-level summary of the previous week's chat for those who were unable to participate. Please be sure to also give some support to the other podcasts in the Guardian Radio Network, links of which can be found in our show notes or on our website. Our next chat is going to be a discussion on the extra lore topic of April, God of War. Be sure to weigh in on the polls this weekend to let us know which topics you want to discuss after that. Links to those polls can be found on either Twitter at FocusFireChat or within our Discord server. I asked Green to put together a high-level summary of tonight's topic, and this is what she had to say.
Hello, it's me again, Failsafe. Since our last interaction, major possible developments have sparked a renewed interest in Golden Age technology. Thus, queries involving Failsafe were bound to happen. Preliminary results are as followed. Vendor on Nessus. Split personalities. Failsafe activation when primary AI is partially functional. AI on colony ship Exodus Black. Anomaly of 26 additional mathematical constants creating navigational difficulty. Evil twins. Captain Jacobson. Decade 6 unit. Failsafe deductions of Vex communication. Failsafe analysis of Traveler being possible creator, reference, father, of artificial intelligence. Unauthorized program injection detected.
Before we jump into the information and thoughts that the community had about Failsafe, however, let's take a look at this week's Lost Lore. All right, so I was thinking, and this is just me thinking out loud, that since we're talking about Failsafe, a good place to kind of start would be maybe talking about that little pesky centaur planet that she crashed into. And kind of, going off of the norm here and maybe not diving necessarily into something from within game, but actually looking at what exactly 7066 Nessus is. I know we've kind of danced around that topic a little bit before, but I wanted to just really quick, and I mean, I guess I'll ask if the others on the show are okay with that idea, or if they had something else to jump into.
I mean, I think that's as good a place as any, especially if we're going to dive into impact velocity.
Right. Well, yeah, that's kind of, that was actually, because the orbit is a big thing with Nessus.
Yeah, you really can't talk about Failsafe without, talking about the planet that she happens to be on, or in this case, not planet.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, the more you look at Nessus, the more it's like, what in God's name is this thing? Like, it's such a
Nessus looks more advanced than Venus. I'm just saying that.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious how it looks.
So real quick, 7066 Nessus is actually its name. It is a centaur, which is basically a icy minor planetoid. And it was discovered back in 1993 by an individual who, by the name of David L. Rabinowitz, working with Spacewatch, which is basically something that was being taken or was undertaken on Kitt Peak, which is a national observatory. And it was actually the second centaur that he found. 5145 Pholus was his original, or his first find. And then this Nessus is actually the third centaur discovery that we had. Prior to Nessus, I believe it was 2060 Chiron. In 1977 was actually the first. And then I believe the 50145 Pholus was also a centaur. Sorry, because it was the second one. So Nessus was, I was like, I just said that. This is what happens when I talk just randomly. Nessus was officially announced actually on May 13th of 1993. And there's a designation that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But the big thing about Nessus, and one of the reasons that centaurs in general are kind of wonky, is the orbital periods. There's this really weird eccentric orbit that most centaurs take, and Nessus in particular has an orbital period of 122.4 years. And then it's got I think it's called an eccentricity of 0.52 and an inclination to the ecliptic of 15.6 degrees, which if you're into astronomy, which is not astrology, astronomy, that makes more sense to me. So anyways, so basically at its perihelion, it actually is closer to the sun than Uranus. And while it is what's called aphelion, it's actually well out beyond Neptune. So basically what is going on is during these orbits, the centaurs, it's believed that the centaurs they have these wonky orbits, mostly because of these giant planets that it goes by, Jupiter, Venus, all these big planets. And Nessus in particular is what's called an SE object, because at current moment in our world, Nessus is really controlled by Saturn. And so the Saturn, so SE object stands for Saturn, and then what's called the Edgeworth Kuiper belt. I don't know.
Kuiper.
Is it Kuiper? Why is there a U in Kuiper? Yeah. This is the weirdest.
If I remember right, it's a Russian name. So
okay, that explains it. that gets a hard pass. So yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about Nessus is though that in looking at the orbit, what astronomers will do is they'll do what's called cloning of the orbit, which is basically it's a projection of what's going to happen. And in 50 clones of the orbit of Nessus, it's suggested that it's not going to pass within 1 AU of a planet for at least the next 20,000 years.
Right.
So yeah. And also big shout out because Nessus is called out as being an in-game location within the 2017 video game Destiny 2 on most sites. Mm-hmm. It's a really kind of funny thing. And I'll just go ahead and read the rest of the little thing that I'm looking at Wikipedia, for instance, on this one. It says, Nessus as portrayed in the game is more similar to a planet than a small rocky icy body, and it has a substantial atmosphere and complex alien life. These differences are attributed to terraforming by an extraterrestrial race called, quote, the Vex, end quote. Sorry, I'm like I get kind of giddy when I find like in random sites they're like, oh yeah, by the way, Destiny portrays this in this way. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I play that game. I talk about that game. I have no actual connection to that game, but I talk about it a lot. So
yeah.
But yeah, so that's Nessus, and I'm sure Beard has a lot more science facts that he could dredge up.
Mm-hmm. Especially when it starts coming down to the numbers. A lot of people are actually confused with like what the 2066 actually stands for. And it actually comes down to the amount of objects that we're tracking within the solar system. We actually give notation, and that is how we just do it. We just do it in an ascending column of numbers. But Nessus is number 2066 within that realm.
7,000.
7,066.
2000, yeah. I don't know why.
It's okay.
Wait,
I completely.
I don't know why I keep doing that.
Just to make you feel better. I totally misspoke today at work and gave everyone some poor soul's cell phone number instead of my conference line. So whoever has that number that I accidentally spam called you with about 30 people, I'm sorry, but not really.
Yeah, we can forgive this eccentricity.
Nice.
Get it?
Okay. Nice. Okay.
Did you get it, Beard?
Yeah.
Did you get it, Brother Beard?
I get it. I got it.
Moving on.
I got it, Justin. I got it. All right.
Oh my God, he's loose.
So
there's so much blood.
Just head dust.
Now, the biggest thing that I should also mention about this is that there are a few other big centaurs that have actually been and centaurs can also be classified within as like dwarf planets in a way. Pluto can be argued left and right however you really feel like it. It has been declassified as a planet. Still, JPL and Ness are looking at you going, no, they're not. That being said, if you look at something like if you look at a couple others, Maki is another big one that's talked about off and on. But another large one is called Eris. So this isn't the first time that Bungie has actually looked back into like the naming schemes of anything like a dwarf planet or centaur or something like it. These are significant rocks that actually have like some kind of shape to them that is more spherical. Instead of a typical, say, asteroid or something like that has no real shape to it. They're just rocks out in space, and that's about all they are. Another one that is also referenced, and now the name escapes me. Now that I wanted to bring it up, Ceres. There it is. That's one of the largest objects that you can kind of think about between, say, Jupiter and Mars, just because of the way that it is also held in place by Jupiter. And that's just to show that centaurs, dwarf planets, so on, have extremely volatile systems thanks to these larger planets that we happen to have in our outer solar system. It's not something that we're able to easily observe in other systems, unfortunately. Even with like Alpha or Alpha Beta Proxima Centauri, we are not able to check those systems to see if they also have the same kind of like amount of space rocks or anything like that yet. I know New Horizons just got launched and it's already returning a lot of awesome imagery, but we'll have to see on that one. But those are the couple big things just to point out that are at least more in reference to like JPL and NASA. Another big thing of note is being that this is also so far out and, you know, isn't getting a lot of sunlight or anything. Nessus doesn't look like that today, if I needed to point that out. Nessus is basically just a big, unremarkable ball of probably metals, ice, or anything else that might be out there that it was able to collect in terms of our forming of the solar system. There is no atmosphere on that planet. There is nothing that would suggest that it has any kind of plant life.
There's no Vex.
There is no Vex, sadly.
What?
I would kind of hope for that at this point. Anyway, that's me being cynical. But that's that's kind of an overview when you start talking about these planetoids that are out that far. They have a spherical shape to them. They have no atmosphere. They have it where they're able to support a shape of a sphere, but that's about as far as it goes. But those are just a couple extra features for you if you're curious about like what else is going on with it. There's a lot of them, but there's only a few that we really have that are physically named. Otherwise, you end up getting something like, you know, Kepler 186F or something like that, where we don't actually have a straight name for the planet. We just name the star.
I mean, anything that is generally not within reach of our planet, we designate using different codes. It's very, very, very common practice. KOI is a very common practice because it's Kepler Object of Interest, and then they assign it a number.
Yeah, which food for thought for anybody that starts looking at like something like impact velocity. Kepler 186F is actually referenced in a couple meetings, one with its KOI number, one with its Kepler number, or it's the actual Kepler that's listed. But Kepler that being said, what's that?
Kepler 186F.
Yep, yeah, that's the planet that we're going for. That's the one that we're theorizing, at least in the last couple of years here, that has the possibility to support habitable life. It's in that habitable zone right across from where you would kind of expect it to sit with distance from a sun of that size. So
it's approximately the same shape and size of Earth, and it's in that same distance, that sweet zone from its sun or its star, which is a red dwarf also.
Contrary to what we see with like the new Lost in Space, where they're going to like Alpha Centauri and everything, and I'm like, that sounds like a terrible idea. I don't know what you guys are thinking with that.
They said it was a terrible idea too because there's no single Scott mulch or single malt Scotch. If I remember the smuggler's frustration.
That's fair.
So
he could think to learn how to do it and then make it, but you know.
Did we touch on the actual etymology of the word Nessus?
If you want to go back to like Greek and everything, I think that's
actually a famous centaur.
Yep,
he's a bit of a
a-hole.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I was going to say something else, but you know, the whole "let's keep it clean" thing.
Yeah, yeah. We actually have touched base on him a little bit before. I know we had kind of talked about the base story behind him. The long story short on there is it was the tale of Heracles, correct?
Yep, he is the killer of Heracles in a roundabout way.
In a really roundabout way, because by all technicalities, after he was killed by Heracles, his wife. Heracles' wife had actually taken the blood of the centaur and then put it onto a new onto Heracles' robes and everything. But the poison within centaur blood did not affect him until he went out into the sun. So he basically burned Heracles from skin down with this poisonous blood. It was not a pretty way to go.
And it was all because his wife was convinced that he was cheating.
Yeah. And I can't pronounce his wife's name, but I want to say diarrhea, but that's not it. Not it. It's
well
close.
If I ever need a humorous take on what history has been all about, I know to just go back to Justin and be like, "Can you pronounce his name for me, please?"
We don't need drunk history. We just need Justin history.
Yeah. We just need Justin history. I could take that sober enough. That's fine.
That's Avid. Is this the one that Hercules uppercutted and then all the horseshoes followed him out of the water?
Oh, God. Freaking the most annoying Disney reference ever.
I thought it was hilarious.
Oh. I'm stuck on the diarrhea.
Diarrhea. Say that name. That name.
I mean, if you're really stuck on it, you might want to see a doctor about that.
Oh, I'm sure there's some laxative that can help with it.
Hey yo.
Oh god.
Anyways,
who is Failsafe?
Yeah, Failsafe. Failsafe is basically the vendor on Nessus and is also what is assumed to be the backup AI of Exodus Black. The reason I say assumed to be, well, we'll get into that a little bit here in a minute. And like I said, where you encounter Failsafe is on Nessus, and when. Pretty much, Failsafe is believed to exist prior to the collapse to current day in Destiny, obviously. And then why? Why is Failsafe even in the game? Is actually kind of the segue that I was kind of going for. Is there's a possibility that there was some tampering going on, which kind of comes into or kind of points us to the impact velocity card. So, and I know Green had mentioned this in our chat. Green, do you want to read that, or do you want someone else to read it?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting card to read just because it is a broken up card. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the Mayday card with the Exodus Blue that crashes on Earth in that card.
Exodus Blue does not. Exodus Blue didn't get off Earth.
Right,
I think it was.
But there's one that.
Yeah, I know it was one of the Exodus projects. Because Blue was the one that we have the Crucible Arena.
The map for. Anyway, it's one of those where there's interruptions and stuff like that. So it's a difficult card to read aloud.
Well, thankfully, we have those lines that are broken up explained to us through a lot of the actual gear that you can pick up from Nessus.
Yes.
That's the flavor text of the equipment. So we can at least interject those, I think, from the conversation as we read the. Okay. It's actually easy to trace.
Do you want me to read the... Well, okay, I'll just go ahead and start reading it a little bit, and then we can interject things as we go if we need to. Captain, this conveyance top speed is a fraction of Exodus Black's when it crashed into Nessus. Try not to find out for yourself. Failsafe. Failsafe Navigational AI Recovery Protocol. Exodus Black Quarantine Unrecoverable C-Fit. Exodus Black CVDR Online 32% Integrity. Destination KOI 571.05. Distance 151 was it parcels?
Parsecs.
Parsecs, there we go.
Parsecs
492 light years. 161 parsecs. 552 light years. 141 parsecs. ETA expletive almost, essentially.
Now the next relation is from Sam, capital BLA. This actually comes from the Exodus Down Gauntlets. It reads, Captain, the orbit of 7066 Nessus is different from what Cosmodrome calculated. Flight Officer Samantha Blaze.
Exception caught in navigational computation algorithm attempting mitigation. Mitigation failed. Quadratic irrationality introduced. Incomprehensible. Wow, that's a weird word. Retrying. Incommensurable. God.
Incommensurable. Yeah.
It's a rough one.
Incommensurable.
Incommensurable. There it is. The next quote actually comes from, I'm going to probably butcher it, but Masoud Jacobson. It's actually Captain Jacobson. But that comes from the chess piece for the gear, which reads, adjust course 2 degrees. It's a long way to Kepler 186, folks. We don't have time to tour Nessus.
Command suggestion not sufficient. Overriding to 8.5 degrees. Overriding to 8.7 degrees. There's an echo.
I gotta say, this actually is from Failsafe herself. Okay. When you get a echo readback, it's actually a playback of, at least in popular sci-fi, from my knowledge, it's always a readback of like a computer reporting. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's a echo playback, because it then has to convert from what it's calculating as and then get it back over to us in a readable or understandable form. So that's what echo will mean as you read this card.
Echo. My apologies, Captain Jacobson. My formulas to calculate our trajectory have encountered 26 new mathematical constants. I'm attempting to compensate. On-off program injection detected. Quadridimensional.
Quadridimensional structure, yeah.
Compromise, attempting mitigation.
And this one is from the chief engineer, Kauru Zoikova, and it reads from the boots, we might be stopping at Nessus after all. We just lost the starboard engine.
Echo. I'm sorry, but I'm unable to keep pace with what's happening to my computational capabilities. The Exodus Black is now in an unrecoverable descent. Please make whatever preparations are appropriate. Hull loss imminent. Impact imminent. Echo, I'm sorry. And then it just dies.
Yep.
26 new mathematical constants. That's the line that gets me like, holy moly. What in the world got thrown into her?
Well, because remember, this was when the Vex started throwing 6th dimension into it.
Well, I'm going to say that's actually what I was going to recommend that we do, is because it's a constantly non-referenced piece, is to read over the Exodus Down class tab. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read that right now.
Yes.
This Guardian armor was repurposed from Exodus Black crew flight suits. Captain's logbook. Ship, if we ever figure out the date, would you backfile it here? Thanks. We're stranded on an outbound Centaur. With every word I speak, we fall further from our sun. 766 Nessus shouldn't be here, but there was no way to anticipate the way it pulled us in. Ship's guess is that our orbital momentum, what we call a 4-vector for the dimensions of space and time, was somehow folded away into 6 extra dimensions, leaving us on a crash orbit towards Nessus. We have lost all sense of time. Past and future are like up and down, and we would walk them if we could, but back to a place before Nessus. But we will always be on Nessus, too. I don't know. They're trying to understand us. They must think like rivers. We are now receiving our own distress calls. I sound calmer than I feel. And again, this is an often not reported line, only because of, or at least thought about line, because of a couple features that we kind of see with Nessus. It does feel like there are things that are out of Failsafe's hands ahead of time before she actually finds out the unauthorized program injection is in front of her. Additionally, what we have to look back to is the distance parameters and how they are fluctuating to actually get back to the place that she is. So a lot of this doesn't necessarily seem like it is Failsafe's fault, even with attempting to compensate with everything that is going on. Additionally, when I start reading up on how it might sound like it's minor differences in how degrees would work or anything like that with movement, Jacobson says adjust course 2 degrees. Meanwhile, Failsafe finds out that it's like 8.5 to 8.7. Remember that, especially in terms of this crash, that a colony ship is massive. These things aren't tiny. And making that even bit of an adjustment off course while you have something pulling you down in a gravitational hold of some silly kind that has been adjusted into 10 vector points, yeah, you're going to lose your starboard engine. It's all because of sheer force. Yeah, if not more. It really does come down to sheer force, which I don't mean as sheer force, I mean as sheer force. Gravity will actually go ahead and at that point pull down what it can grab of the ship. And if an engine doesn't have the capability in order to break hold from, say, orbital peak or anything else, that is going to cause catastrophic havoc for any kind of hull or structure that you have that is put together on a ship. And long story short, that's pretty well what happened here. Yeah, there's the further line, of course, that there is some computational issues that Failsafe's running into, but there's also the fact that they can actually go back and track that they were experiencing this weird sense of time and still do while they're on Nessus. So 2 things kind of fall into place on this one, at least for me. By having the timescales be all over the place, you cannot accurately track how long it's actually been that Failsafe has been on Nessus. She accurately quotes like a 500 year time period. Not so much. Probably not. Not when we start having a distance and light year factor that changes like that pretty quickly. And additionally, when even Captain Jacobson and the crew feel that time is altering to a pretty large degree. But again, it just comes down to Nessus being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Granted, was that influenced by the Vex? Probably in some way. But it could not be thought of, it could not be compensated or calculated in for any possible algorithm. And long story short, it led to, as we see the crash site too on Nessus, it just led to the entire Exodus Black being ripped apart from stem to stern.
What's interesting is one of her voice lines talks about how she's witnessed the conversion of Nessus.
Right. And how all life was wiped out beforehand, which suggests that there was something even on it before they were on Nessus, which is also interesting, and I would love to know what actual life they found down there.
Mm-hmm. Justin, do you have something?
Yeah, I had kind of a breakdown of some of the abbreviations that we see in this card, and they're actually, most of them are aviation abbreviations that are actually real. So if you read the first part, you see X Black or XBLK, which is Exodus Black. That's the flight designation or the vessel designation. Mm-hmm. QAR, unrecoverable. QAR, it's, from the best I can tell, is referencing the quick access recorder, right. Which is like the flight data recorder, like the black box that we're familiar with. It records all kinds of different data that like telemetry and wind speed and altitude and all these other things. And then after that, in parentheses with exclamation points, is the acronym CFIT, CFIT, and best I can tell, that is code for controlled flight into terrain. So what you should get from that is the quick access recorder, flight data recorder, is unrecoverable, and they're engaged in a controlled flight into terrain, i.e. crashing in a very controlled manner. The next line down, Exodus Black, CVDR online, 32% integrity. CVDR is an acronym that stands for Cockpit Voice and Data Recorder. So that's recording the cockpit environment. And the fact that it's 32% integrity tells us, well, it accounts for the crappy transcript that we have of it.
Right.
And then we go down, destination KOI-571.05. That's actually a Kepler object of interest designation for an exoplanet orbiting a red dwarf, Kepler 186. And it's about 560 light years from Earth. So we know where they're going. And then it all kind of goes a bit pear-shaped from there. I thought that was kind of, interesting, just to break down all of the, and of course there's a bunch in the distance I haven't figured out yet. The PC and parsecs, the LY parsecs, and what's L light years? Okay,
light years, yeah.
But how does that? It almost reads like coordinates.
Well, I think it's a continuation.
Mm-hmm.
And she's recording. She's trying to figure out the time of arrival, the ETA. And so she's got 151 parsecs, also translated into 492 light years, and then it shifts to 161 parsecs.
It's getting farther away.
Well,
and
it gets closer. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the 141.
That's where I'm kind of wondering how much that flux has been a big issue as well. Again, going back to like the 10 vectors or so, like things are seemingly moving back and forth through it all. And I'm wondering if they aren't already caught in some kind of like ridiculous time phasing or something like that the Vex have been somewhat known for. But that being said, yeah, there's two theories that have gone with this, and I kind of like mine a little bit more because it means that it follows along. Of course, I like mine a little bit more. It follows along with the idea that they didn't and weren't able to calculate that Nessus was there in the first place, and that the Vex actually had a hand in moving it around. We also know from the Cade Grimoire card from D1 that it was actually delayed in terms of its arrival back into the system. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple pieces that are really not quite right about Nessus, and it would all end up coming back to a time and orbital distance factor. So for me, that's why I think the distance labeling is moving. The secondary one comes down to the other one that says unauthorized program injection detected. And it could just be that Failsafe is like absolutely like losing her mind with some kind of bug or virus that has been injected into her. We just don't necessarily know when that was done. Was that done while they were on Earth? Was there another piece of sabotage that happened? I doubt that Rasputin would be to blame for that because he seemingly wanted to get us off of here, and he has no reason to necessarily maroon anybody like the Exodus Black or otherwise on a Centaur planet that he had no other way to kind of figure out what was going on with it. And even if you start thinking in that realm, then you start getting into other conspiracy theories like Exodus Black is to be blamed for the Vex or otherwise. Well, that goes into a pretty big realm of spinfoil, which I'm not.
She has a few voice lines where she talks about different nodes that are corrupted.
Right.
And so whether or not it's a corruption caused by the Vex and whatever, if the Vex were starting to terraform that area or we're riding Nessus around like a bull rider, I don't know what they're doing with it. But if that's a fun image in my head though. If they were starting the terraforming process or starting the conversion process at the time, there would be a massive amount of energy used which theoretically could throw off navigational systems. That does not necessarily say that it's going to do the 26 new mathematical constants or anything like that with the trifolding or the quad folding and everything that happened. But if she could theoretically have it corrupted if the new programming was trying to account for things that she has never seen before.
Right. Yep.
And there's also mention of Siva, but Siva's locked away. Siva can't be accessed at this point.
So we know.
Yes.
From what she says, she cannot access. She doesn't have the codes for it.
They got the McAfee on.
Oh, God.
No, Justin, she said that she can't access it. That's not McAfee.
Oh.
Give me 48 hours, I'll have that correct.
Yeah, I know. McAfee would be like McAfee would be
safe.
McAfee would be. Oh, I have total access to it. What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry. Something really strong then, like Windows Defender.
My Windows firewall.
Yeah, really.
All I can say is that Failsafe makes a terrible Kessel run.
Yeah. Millennium Falcon joke, which actually is a Disney reference now.
Yay! That's 2 in 1 show so far.
Yay! Only other thing before we skim too far past him, I was actually looking up the extension file names as well, and I wrote down the one on the QAR. It is actually I know it absolutely falls back to what Justin was kind of talking about, but I find it funny how that data is kind of played back towards what we have in real life, but it's used for the QLIC viewer program folder files, business intelligence reporting, archival use mostly. It contains a zip file with the following files and extensions. It has an XML for definition files, a JavaScript file, a PNG for an icon image or otherwise, a QVPP for properties files, and then an optional data source file, mostly with HTML. So that's what we have, at least for the real life reference, which it kind of plays back towards what the QAR would be from what, like I said, what Justin was talking about with Failsafe's referencing with the QAR. It would just be a visual representation that we're kind of getting back from that information then as well.
Also, what I got from the whole thing was that they lost the star boar, which is like obviously some mythical creature.
See, Justin, I got that explains why Cade is on Nessus. Is he's still looking for the traveler googly eyes? No, he's looking for the googly eye traveler wallpaper.
Are you sure? Are you sure it's that? And that he's not looking for more horse people,
or the horse people, or the
actually boar people.
All praises be to the Googler, through whom all things are possible.
Do we have any evidence of why Cade was actually there besides to get the Vex tech?
He knew a reason that the Vex were there, which is the other questionable piece, I think.
But okay, correct me if I'm wrong. He wasn't heading to Nessus, right?
Wasn't he, though?
No, that's not what I get from that.
I'd have to go back and look.
Well, look at the destination. There's a destination plugged in, and it's not Nessus. It's a Kepler identifier for.
Oh no, yeah, but that's
Cade,
for Nexus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Cade. Yeah. That makes sense.
Cade lost
went after Exodus Black, not after. Okay.
Cade lost his cotton socks, and
so actually, my question is, why was Exodus Black heading to this weird? They were going to colonize.
Yeah, it's like in a habitable zone, so it actually could theoretically support human life.
Goldilocks.
Yeah,
a Goldilocks planet.
Pretty much. But
until you go up in your weather balloon and realize it's going to kill you.
Oh, God.
Oh God, it's a black hole.
Please don't get me started with that.
It's a Hawking's. What was it? The Hawking's radiation.
Hawking's radiation, and then she's about to curse, and it cuts out.
I know that was
all right. That was kind of clever.
That was amazing. So anyway,
that
sorry.
Was good.
Sorry.
We're referencing Lost in Space on Netflix, and we're totally spoiling it for everybody now at this point.
Oh,
danger, Beard Robinson.
Wow. That was pretty good.
That's a good one. I'll give you that.
I got a laugh out of Beard.
Justin's done. Justin's done. He's like, good night. See you later.
I'm going to leave on a high note before I get screamed at.
So, Failsafe, as we know her, did she show up in this moment?
I think that's really
velocity?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing is like, and I know a lot of people debate this about Failsafe is like, what exactly is Failsafe? I mean, is she literally the Failsafe AI? You know, the AI that comes in if the main AI gets, because the thing is like, you know, this is like your what is it, 32% integrity. I mean, we don't know exactly how much the primary AI requires to operate.
That's the hub, the what is it called?
The CVDR?
Mm-hmm. The main area. The Star Trek landing area where Captain Kirk sits. There we go. Thank you.
The bridge.
Thank you.
So, but isn't it possible that they just named Failsafe?
I was going to say that actually. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's that, but then there's, so again, in Impact Velocity, we see the Failsafe Navigational AI Recovery Protocol.
So she's trying to recover the AI?
But but that could be the recovery protocol for the AI named Failsafe, could it not?
The problem is that the other AI that we know about they had actual names. They weren't so blunt in that they're called the Failsafe or anything like that.
Well, yeah, it goes back to the Russian Grimoire cards, actually, because that's just the AI of Exodus Red or Exodus Blue. Mm-hmm. They, at least to my knowledge, have no necessary names that are given to them, because even in the quest dealing with Failsafe, if memory serves, the crewman that is talking about unhinging or releasing or allowing the AI to go full bonkers basically just says, we've unhinged the Failsafe AI on board of Exodus Black. And it could be either that or it's we've unhinged the Exodus Black's AI for failsafe measures. And I know it's one of those two manners. One, of course, means... Yeah, one of those means two different things, of course, but that's I know we've got transcripts that we can refer to, I'm sure.
I'm looking at it. I'll see if I can find it.
But either way, I know is at least spoken of with a naming schema in a way.
Either way, she didn't know the difference between Captain Jacobson and a harpy. So,
here's the problem, though, is that the Vex were studying them and trying to simulate them.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as Failsafe is concerned, if Failsafe doesn't necessarily see us as what you would imagine, if it's just digital patterns that she's picking up on, it could theoretically throw her off.
Yeah. She's a little broken, though.
She is very broken.
I'm going to say both physically and mentally. Something, actually, that I do want to point out on Impact Velocity all the same. Even before she is unhinged and allowed to do her own thing, she still says, "I'm sorry."
Mm-hmm. Do you just think that that's an apology for being ill-equipped to deal with the number of variables being thrown at her.
It could be that. It could just be the typical protocol of like Siri going, "I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that because I'm Siri." You just don't necessarily know.
Well, which what I just described is exactly why Siri's apologizing.
Right.
She's apologizing because she's ill-equipped to give you an answer, and she's defaulting to a polite resolution that's not the answer you need.
I'm going to say I think it would come down to what else she ends up saying in that last line, if it is just, "I'm sorry," or if there is something further to it
like,
before
I failed
the
you.
cutout. Yeah, like something of that nature. Because I think that would actually be pretty telling of like how that AI was developed. Because even with what we had seen with, I think it is Exodus Red, I refer to it as a he, but the AI had a feeling of wanting to, or like related his crew members to seeds, and he was going to go ahead and like plant himself down into this different world and start to spread things out. That's not like a typical computer thought to me. Like there's definitely some lining there that says that they're not unhinged, but they definitely have a personality, which, you know, go figure with Bungie that they would give a machine some kind of personality, but there you go. Granted, I guess that also kind of falls back towards like frames, because we know that the frames that we have are that they also kind of fall in line with that same idea. The fair majority of them are kind of like recovered tech, if I recall right, from the Golden Age. And the ones that we have in the tower are given emotion or allowed to have different emotion and personality. Meanwhile, the ones in the reef are actually have those circuits ripped out of them.
Yeah, but is it also possible that in this moment that we see the impact velocity card, in that moment, Failsafe is just a normal Failsafe AI, navigational AI for this vessel, and then once crash landed on Nessus, the informational Vex elements, kind of get in there, and she gets so intermingled that there's an environment for more of a personality to emerge. Like,
well, I think
there's not a lot of personality in that card.
Well, that comes back.
Getting
right, and that does come back to the quest that I was referring back to, which I guess, Green, if you have anything you want to add, if you were able to bring that up or look it over. It's not on there. I would
grabbed yet either.
Shucks. Yeah, I would have to look back at the quest too, but that is I know for a fact that the crew member that is inside it is a female crew member, and she talks about allowing the Failsafe AI to do more than they originally prescribed it to do. So I would say that in this moment in impact velocity, absolutely just the AI until the crew members decided to leave it go. If anything, it would come down to personality that is programmed into Failsafe, whatever that may have been beforehand.
Well, I had an interesting conversation in chat regarding this very concept, where we talked about what if, because of that adventure, where they talk about releasing the Failsafe AI or the backup AI, what if Failsafe Prime wasn't like broken necessarily, or if she didn't necessarily go away, and when they released the other one, they just kind of merged on top of each other. And you have the original AI, which is kind of this disgruntled one now, versus the backup, which is more whole.
So we're under the preface, I guess, that they are actually two separate AIs, or are we considering that they are a single AI where it formed a different type of consciousness?
I would say where it just kind of merged on top of the other with the data set that wasn't left from the original. So it would have the corruption of whatever this impact scenario created with the Vex tech and everything messing with her and her not being able to compute anything going on, messing up her systems. She can't function the way she's supposed to, so the crew lets loose the backup AI, which merges with the primary AI. It doesn't necessarily replace it because all that information is still there.
Sure.
It just brings it in together, and so you have this conflicting data sets, essentially. One that is disgruntled and kind of jerky,
right,
and says, "I will kill you," and it's not murder if it's robots, although that's in the nice voice.
So, it is in the nice voice.
It's very creepy.
Yeah, isn't it? See, that's what kind of makes me think that it was like the fail-safes on the AI to allow it to calculate further, which for me, at least, that does read that it is a single AI just allowed to actually go into another set of protocols that were there for... It's kind of like the laws of robotics, if we really want to fall back on something that's easy to reference. Yeah, you can't... a robot in Asimov's world would not be able to break those typical laws, but under certain circumstances, it has the availability that it can do so. Take away those laws, now all of a sudden, what is it that's going to happen with those... with that thought or that complex that exists? That's kind of the portion that I guess we're stuck into, if you will, with if failsafe is one, or if it is like two and one is otherwise talking to them. There's another, I have to see which card it is, and maybe you guys remember off the top of your head, but there's another one that actually talks about that's new failsafe.
New failsafe?
Not new failsafe, but it's a new one from the Nightfalls that actually goes into another portion of failsafe, not just impact velocity.
I see.
I cannot remember which one it was.
While you're digging for that one, there is a voice line that she says, just idle dialogue, where she talks about her failsafe AI core protocol integrity.
Yeah.
She doesn't give a number because she's doing the status report, and I'm sure everyone's heard it. Status report: Exodus Black superstructure integrity 17%, data store integrity 38%, power core integrity 89%, failsafe AI core protocol integrity, end status report. I mean, she says it so often that I nearly have it memorized as far as like the vocal inflection that she does. But we don't actually know if the core integrity is even still going to actually have anything there. She might be utterly destroyed as far as the core.
Right. Well, and she also goes into like further, a little bit more of like a rarer voice line, but you can start to tell that she's able to consider and think about things that she may not have been...
the father line.
Yeah, the father line. That's a good one. I don't remember it off of the top of my head exactly. I have it recorded in several other places, but long story short, failsafe is actually contemplating her existence, and she actually falls back on the traveler actually being the one that is her father.
Yeah.
So it actually like falls back on a couple different things to say, hey, guess what? This is something I really should be considering.
Here, I have it. Posit: artificial life exists because of the traveler. Traveler is my father. And she goes, there's a little bit in between there that I don't have, but I've heard it multiple times. But like, that makes me wonder a lot of things, especially with the Warmind getting ready to drop, because Rasputin is an AI.
Well, further, it goes into that thought that I've had for a long time now, that AI in a lot of ways have been infused with light. and a lot of our technology that we've utilized, thanks to what Jacob Hardy and all of them have been actually working with, may have actually been completely connected to how you end up having a lot of our tech from the Golden Age still work. It makes perfect sense.
Rampant.
Right. Yeah. To me, it makes perfect sense with the narrative that they're telling, that everything is responsible in terms of light. Rasputin would have already had to have had that thought with how he was developing, which means that he either has another parent relation to the Traveler as well, if Failsafe is coming to that accord, or it gives you an idea how far in advance Rasputin is in terms of its actual programming and its mindset, versus what Failsafe is, where she is just now thinking about that, if that puts it into any kind of perspective.
Oh, I love this card that you pulled up.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is the other one I was thinking of. So
this one is hilarious.
I don't know if anybody would like to read it.
Yeah, I haven't read it. I haven't read a grimoire card in a good long while.
Yourself a fail-safe.
Get myself a little fail-safe grimoire card. So this is the Trichromatica card, which is a very cool looking ghost. Void, solar, then arc. We're not naive enough to think the order is a coincidence, but we've got bigger things to worry about. Zavala. I'm not sure why my journaling subroutine has come back online. It's quite troubling. All of the things to freak out over, my diary is top of the list. The Red Legion's drilling has impacted my processing in some way. That shouldn't be possible. My concern is escalating. Calm down, me. There's always something I can do. But rewriting my own pathways isn't permitted in my original programming. Neither is whining. That was uncalled for. I'm refocusing on identifying the source of this change. No, I'm going to make one of those red losers regret coming to our little rock. No, I'm analyzing the oscillating nature of the modular mind shield to find weaknesses that can be applied to anti-Cabal weaponry. Why am I doing that? Because I'm doing it. Not me. This is all very worrisome. Yeah, I should get an external diagnostic run by no one because they're all dead.
She's so creepy.
Oh, so creepy.
Oh, man. She's literally having a fight with herself. Which, granted, I can relate, but dang.
Almost reminds me of a little bit more of a chipper. Do you remember the AI from the first Resident Evil movie? The little girl,
the Red Queen.
Yeah, I was losing it.
It's like, I'm sorry, I don't watch scary movies.
Oh, that was from the. It was in the game too.
Yeah, that was scarily bad, but yeah, it was.
Well, did you see the whole line about rewriting her own pathways isn't permitted?
Yes.
Well, yeah. that makes sense from an AI standpoint.
Right, but with that being said, something rewrote it for her to cause all the issues. If she was not allowed to do it herself.
Or also she seems very fragmented, and she's splintering like a schizophrenic at this point. So, or at least that's what it seems like. So it's very possible that she could have done it, and that other fragment of her is unaware of it. At least it seems. One voice doesn't seem to know exactly what the other's doing.
Yeah, she's portraying dissociative identity disorder in a way. But the interesting thing there too is, like, I think kind of what Green's kind of talking about there is that if that's truly the case, if regardless of if an outside party is rewriting her core program, or if she is somehow fragmenting herself around security protocols, because that's one thing that and Bungie does have a long-standing tradition of doing AIs that kind of do the crazy thing. But that was something that even in original, like the smart AIs in Halo, they would have the ability to copy themselves to allow for security manipulation of unknown origins. You saw that with Cortana, actually, in I think it was Halo 2. So the idea of a fragmenting, or even outside of Bungie's history, you can see that in Altered Carbon with the double sleeve concept. You create a copy of yourself to double the thought process, which is kind of what Failsafe has done in general.
Yep. I think they actually, in Fall of Reach, don't they clone Cortana so that they can keep her on Reach doing calculations and stuff, and also put her in Chief's suit?
They don't clone Cortana. That's there. Well,
they don't.
There was a dumb AI that was there.
Yeah. Well, they make a copy of her. Pins is somewhere he'd know.
What's interesting is that she even mentions that the Red Legion's drilling, or at least she thinks it's the Red Legion's drilling, is impacting her processing.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks that's what it is,
and it shouldn't be possible.
Which it shouldn't be.
Well, but it depends. If this takes place after she's been integrated into the Vex network, then her processor units can be technically blended with the Vex, which we know is all of the vegetation on the planet. So they're drilling wood. Right. But what I'm saying is like that would be a way in which their drilling would affect her processing, because her processing is dependent on hardware, which also can explain why she's having all of a sudden all these advanced thoughts. Is her processor basically got a major upgrade by tapping into that Vex network.
She can't access the hubs normally, though.
True.
It's just when we integrate her into that, what is it, Hack the Planet mission?
Yeah, when we lock her away for a decade.
Oh, God. She's so mad.
It's okay.
At the end of
I love that quote. It's okay. I don't ever forget those who wronged me. I'm like, oh, Lord.
She threatens to kill him before she even goes in.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, she hates Ghost. Like, but it's so funny because she drives a wedge between Captain, our Guardian, and Ghost. Mm-hmm. It's like, I love the quips. We did it. No, you hid in his backpack.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Confession, she is my favorite new vendor. She is hilarious. And I like the snarkiness.
Boop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
No, she tries to access the Vex network a couple of times afterwards, and she says it's not possible without detection. So.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I guess the other thing is, I can just see also, if their drilling hits a ship of some kind, is, how ingrained is she in the hardware, at this point and all that.
How much has the Vex actually integrated her into the transformation, since she's been there since the beginning? Right, and I mean, the thing that makes you worry there is, how is she not aware of that? Or is she? That's also concerning. Because, GLaDOS was not enough of a warning. Yeah.
For the record, if Failsafe says that cake's over that way, I'm running the other way.
I'm running the opposite way. I've played this game before. Go that way. Please lie down, and while your party coordinator comes to collect you. Nope. If I do get a companion cube, I might not be so mad.
Could you?
Can we get a companion cube skin for our Ghost?
I know. Don't worry, I've had that thought a few times.
Oh.
I've also thought that my Ghost needs to also look like Pod 042 or a 153 from Nier, because that also makes a lot of sense. But just think about that for a second. All of a sudden, Failsafe looks at you and goes, I got this thing that I need you to help me with. Could you go through this door? And then all of a sudden, she gives you a tractor cannon and allows you to start, blowing holes through certain things. And it's like, hey, do you see this Vex portal over here? You have to successfully go through it. And then there's another chamber and another all of a sudden, we got Portal and Destiny, baby.
The only thing that I would say as far as, the Vex being able to control her, I mean, she's crazy. Don't get me wrong. I could see her pulling a GLaDOS on us. But she doesn't know anything about Guardian.
Well, on Ghost, maybe not on us.
She doesn't know anything about the last city either.
Well, I don't think the Vex would ever want to control.
She does now.
Now, not here, of course, but now, yeah.
But
they would want to simulate her, not control her.
I don't know. The Vex would want to use whatever assets they have.
Well, it just...
And
eventually,
she has
but
no
not
access to their information.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the fact that we have an order. We have an order of the light.
Mm-hmm.
But, that ties into another theory.
Do you know that's...
I would love to hear it because I have no idea where they're going with that.
Oh, it's something from Eris. Eris explains that. Void and then solar and then arc back to void, solar, arc. It's a circle. It's a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cycle of existence.
But where's the beginning of a circle?
There is no beginning.
There is no beginning.
Look, it's like the chicken and the egg. Okay,
there you go.
It's the unmoved mover. It's what it is.
Yeah, everyone knows. Everyone knows.
Here we go.
The first egg laid itself. Everyone knows that. Come on.
So did the Traveler lay itself?
Yes.
Hey-o.
Yes. Hey-o. But then who sits on it? The darkness. That's who.
No, it's what's his name from Eververse.
Oh, Fenchurch. Yeah.
But wait, there's more. Fenchurch goes into the Traveler.
I know, that's
this
why.
just became really wrong.
So anyways, we got a dispatch.
Uh-huh.
Dispatches received from the wilds.
So Potato took a chance and, he's like, hey, look, we got a new DLC. I want to start back up writing these awesome things that I used to write. And here is the one that he sent for Failsafe. It's radar contact confirm. Ship of unknown origin and design scan indicate non-organic crew. Not Vex lifeforms. Readings match exo-units parameters. Oh my, what an interesting turn of events. Finally, it's going to end in disaster. But such joy to watch it unfold. Activating local sensors and seismic monitors. Error. Sensor platforms operating below optimal operational minimums. We crashed. No duh. Kind of what happened when you fall out of space. A lot of broken. Attempting to contact vessel. Connected. Greeting, traveler. I am the backup artificial. Too much effort to say that. You can call me Failsafe. Warning. Approaching vessel. You are on a telemetry. That will result in an entry velocity too fast for proper landing. And, oh no, that's gonna hurt.
Interesting. I love this stuff.
It's really. I didn't read like the last part, like the last pieces of it when I first put it in there, and I was like, I started reading that, and I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yes, because you have to infer which voice.
I know. I'm like halfway through one part, and I'm like, oh no, that was actually a different voice.
Yeah, I like his stuff though. I'm excited to see what he comes up with for some of the next couple of topics.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Potato's doing some great stuff over there. So do you guys want to run through a bit of a shout out? I know Justin has to take off for an early morning. So
yay!
Green, would you karate? Green, do you have any final thoughts or shout outs?
Final thoughts are start looking over your lore, guys. For this new DLC, go back to the beginning. They're pulling stuff from the very beginning.
Yeah, they are.
So don't just rely on D2 stuff because they are using the Grimoire.
Which is a pain in the neck and also
It's
a really
amazing.
great thing.
It's
because
great.
More people that are in the game that are new, that are still around, need to go ahead and also reference this material, and they need to know that it exists so that they have to understanding what's going on. Bungie, why you do this?
Poor PC players.
Oh, especially PC players.
Well, it's a good thing that there's this podcast that covers that stuff, right?
I'm going to say it's a good thing there's podcasts like this
YouTube
one and
videos.
like a channel or 5 that exists for it, a website.
You created more channels?
Database.
Yeah, what?
Blue.
All of the channels. All of your channels are mine.
Yes, I needed to unhinge my failsafe there.
I mean, he could have a split personality for some of the comment responses that I see sometimes.
That's one of the personalities right there.
The 2 shoutouts I have, one goes to Bungie. One, thank you for, not showing us a ton of things at the Warmind reveal, because it shows that you want us to kind of find a lot of stuff. Second, it showcases the people that I actually have to pay attention to on YouTube that actually understand that not everything was shown. Mm-hmm. And 3, it also allows me to sit back and go, there's mystery again, because that was the thing I didn't have with Curse of Osiris. And now I've got a lot more that I can sit back and start thinking about. The second one goes to what Bife has actually been out and taking care of, and that is St. Jude Plays. And it is actually a whole thing where they pulled a bunch of streamers, community members out to St. Jude to basically say, hey, we're going to go ahead and raise a bunch of money for St. Jude again, because that's basically what the Destiny community does. And it also gives you more of an idea of like what it is that St. Jude itself does, which was more the important stuff to actually see like firsthand what goes on with that hospital and others. So really cool to see that an event like that happened, and I'm very happy to have seen what came of it. But anyway, that I think will do it for me. So Justin, take it away.
Well, thank you, Beard. Thank you, Beard. Brother Beard, everyone. Brother Beard.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. There you go.
Thank you very much.
So it was great to be back. Yes. First of all, it's great to be back. And it's also great to have me. I was a delight. But no, big shout out to Blues Brother Ben. Wow. I just said Blues Brothers. Blues Brother Ben for inviting me to his wedding, IRL, which means in real life, just in case you're acronymically challenged. But yeah, I got to hang out with Blue and his lovely wife Anna last weekend, so that was really cool. And also see his little brother get married. That was really cool. Also, spoiler alert: Blue danced.
What?
It was just for a split second.
It was mostly controlling a minion on the dance floor.
Yeah. Have you seen? Have either of you ever been to Chuck E. Cheese? Animatronics. That's what it was like. It was like It's a Small World. That's what it was like.
Okay,
yeah. But, I try really hard.
Hold up for 1 second. Whenever you end up bringing up the concept of animatronics and Chuck E. Cheese, my mind instantly goes to Five Nights at Freddy's. I hope you realize this. And now you're talking about small children, which is making this even worse if you understand the lore behind that. You're not making this a very comfortable conversation for me. Carry on. I'm sorry I had to have that outburst.
No, I'm real sorry that the lore of small children bothers you.
It wasn't like that. What is wrong with you?
No, but anyways, I was just gonna say it was cool. It was cool to see you guys and yeah, just that was awesome. Also, big shout out to Bungie for everyone else is excited about private matches and Crucible ranks because they're sweaty tryhards. I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful for Anna Bay, because she bad.
Oh God, why are you doing this?
If you ever seen a pretty woman climb a glacier with a knife, it's amazing. So, yeah, Yeah. Also, I just wanted to take a quick moment and kind of be semi-serious. And just this isn't a shout out, but it's just kind of like a public service announcement. We had a shooting in DFW area at a Home Depot. We had an active shooter. He actually ended up killing a police officer, wounding some other people, and going on a really long high-speed chase. And I guess my whole point that I was going to get to is when you're out and about in public, I see a lot of people with headphones in and looking at their phones, not aware of their surroundings at all. You would think you'd be safe at a Home Depot in broad daylight, but everyone be careful because it's the wild, wild west out there. So anyways, that's my little soapbox. And also thoughts and prayers with the wounded and the fallen officer for sure.
Definitely.
Just kind of let the air out of the room, but
yeah, no, you're another really big shout out like I had at the beginning of the episode for Nerd and Needle. We are actually going to probably be getting those put up on the website, and I will be putting links in the Discord when we get stuff figured out for those patches. I'll also be putting pictures up for them for you guys to see. Other than that, yeah, I think it has been kind of unofficially decided by the group here. And like I said, if I don't get in trouble over on Twitter or in Discord, I think next week we are going to be taking a break from the normal schedule and doing a Warmind episode to discuss that. But keep an eye out in the Discord server if you're over there or over on Twitter, and we will get that confirmed and, push out the question in a more clean format as promised by Green. But yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for that. And as always, we took last week off. It just kind of, it actually helps us a little bit because even though we were super busy, it kind of helps us refresh and come back with a little bit more energy. But yeah, at the same time, we still really missed it. So hope you guys are having a great weekend, and we will see you next week. With that, we'll begin to wrap the chat up. Thank you again to those over on Twitch for coming to spend your evening with us. If you'd like to join us for the live streaming of the episodes, please be sure to give us a follow over on twitch.tv/FocusFireChat. Links to all our other sites can also be found with our episode archives over on the new FocusFireChat.com. Please be sure to email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com with any questions or comments for our team concerning the podcast, and let us know how we're doing by giving us some feedback and a rating over on iTunes as well. Also, be sure to check out all of our amazing podcast partners within the Guardian Radio Network over on theguardiansofdestiny.com. So until next time, focus your fire and may your light shine bright.